Tonight, listeners, we travel to Maplewood, a quiet town where the streets are familiar, but the night holds secrets. Detective Samuel Grant receives a call that will change everything, a mystery waiting in the dark. Then rain tapped softly against the window of Grant's office, a rhythmic staccato that seemed almost alive in the late-night silence. Detective Samuel Grant leaned back in his chair, feet resting on the worn leather, and exhaled slowly. Maplewood was usually a peaceful town. Crime was rare, disturbances even rarer, yet something in the air tonight felt different. NNTHE phone rang, sharp and insistent. Grant sat up, adjusting his tie. "Grant," he said, voice steady. NNTHE voice on the line was trembling, urgent. "Detective, you must come to 17 Elm Street. It's my father. He's missing. There's something wrong. Please, hurry." Grant grabbed his coat and hat, slipping into the wet night. The streets of Maplewood glistened under the streetlights, reflections of lamps on puddles creating a dreamlike, uneasy atmosphere. The town seemed asleep, unaware of the tension creeping along its narrow lanes. At 17 Elm Street, a Victorian house loomed, shutters closed, curtains drawn, yet the faint glow of a candle flickered in the front window. Mrs. Pennington, a small, anxious woman, met him at the door. Her eyes were wide, her hands trembling as she clutched a shawl around her shoulders. "Detective Grant," she said, voice quivering. "It's my father. He didn't come home last night. And this morning, the study, it's been ransacked. I don't know what to do. Someone is hiding something." Grant nodded, taking in the scene. The house was silent but for the ticking of a grandfather clock in the hall. He noticed the faint scent of tobacco lingering in the air, a hint that someone had been there recently. "Show me the study," he said quietly. Inside, the room was in disarray. Drawers pulled open, papers scattered across the floor, a chair overturned. It was clear someone had searched thoroughly, yet oddly, nothing of great value seemed missing. Grant's eyes narrowed. Whoever had done this was looking for something specific. Something they didn't want anyone else to find, NNMRs. Pennington led him to a safe, hidden behind a portrait. The combination had been forcibly opened, its contents disturbed. Grant noted the faint fingerprints on the metal, the slight smear of dirt on the edges. "Do you know if your father had enemies?" he asked. His voice calm but firm, NNMRs. Pennington shook her head. "No. Everyone liked him. He was quiet, meticulous. He wouldn't have left willingly." Grant's mind raced. A missing man, a ransacked study, and a sense of foreboding that stretched across the town like a shadow at midnight. He needed to act quickly. Whoever was behind this was organized, careful, and desperate to conceal the truth. NHE checked the windows. No forced entry, no sign of struggle. The intruder had either known the house well or had help. As Grant turned back to the safe, he noticed a small scrap of paper tucked under the floorboard. A hastily scribbled message. "Meet me at the old clock tower, or the truth dies with him." A cryptic message leads Detective Grant to the town's old clock tower. Midnight tolls, shadows shift, and the first real clue to the Pennington mystery comes into view. But danger is waiting. Grant parked his car near the base of the clock tower, its silhouette looming against the stormy sky. Rain fell in heavier sheets now, drumming against the roof of the vehicle, pooling along the cobblestone streets. The tower had been silent for decades, its chimes long since stopped, yet tonight it felt alive, as if it had been waiting for someone to arrive. NTHE scrap of paper he'd found in the Pennington study burned in his pocket. "Meet me at the old clock tower, or the truth dies with him." With a flashlight in hand, Grant climbed the narrow stone steps leading to the tower door. The wind howled around him, and the tower creaked with each gust. Reaching the top, he pushed the heavy door open. Rusted hinges groaned in protest, echoing through the empty structure. Inside, the tower was damp and dark, dust motes floating in the beam of his flashlight. Shadows danced across the walls as rainwater leaked through the old stone. Grant's eyes adjusted, scanning the room carefully. Every corner, every support beam, every narrow window could hide a threat. Then he noticed it, A figure crouched near the clock mechanism, partially hidden behind the giant gears. The silhouette moved nervously, shifting a bundle from one side to another. "Hold it right there," Grant called, voice firm. The figure froze, then slowly raised its hands in surrender. It was a young man, soaked and trembling. His eyes darted between Grant and the shadows. "Detective, you came," he said, relief evident in his voice. Grant approached cautiously. "Who are you, and what's in the bundle?" The young man swallowed hard. "My name is Peter Caldwell. I work for the Penningtons. I didn't mean any harm. I found something in the study." "Something dangerous." Grant's curiosity sharpened. "Dangerous how?" Peter opened the bundle carefully. Inside were documents, letters, and old photographs, evidence of financial fraud, threats, and a long-hidden betrayal that could destroy the Pennington family's reputation. Grant examined them, noting the precision with which they had been prepared. Someone had been covering their tracks for years, and tonight, Peter had uncovered the first tangible proof. "And who sent you here?" Grant asked. "And why not just bring this to the police?" Peter shook his head. "I didn't know who to trust. The notes, the warning. Whoever took my father, whoever ransacked the study, they're dangerous. They'll stop anyone who gets close." The sound of the tower's ancient gears shifting suddenly echoed as if on cue. A chill ran down Grant's spine. The building seemed alive, responding to the storm outside and the tension inside. "Listen carefully," Peter said, his voice trembling. "They're watching. I saw someone slip away before I got here. They know I have these. If we're not careful," Grant nodded, "we'll be careful, but we can't waste time. Your father's life depends on what we do next." Suddenly, a shadow fell across the doorway, and a familiar, cold voice whispered from the darkness. "Detective Grant, you shouldn't have come alone." A shadow at the clock tower warns Detective Grant. Danger is closer than he realizes. As rain lashes Maplewood, the first real secrets of the Pennington case surface, and the mystery deepens. Grant spun toward the doorway, revolver drawn, flashlight cutting through the dark interior of the clock tower. The figure in the shadows remained silent, but the weight of presence was undeniable. Rain pattered against the broken windows, filling the room with a rhythmic tension. "Who's there?" Grant demanded, voice steady despite the adrenaline. A faint laugh drifted through the room. "Detective Grant, you really think the night is quiet here? You're trespassing in matters far larger than Elm Street." Grant's eyes narrowed. The voice was familiar, smooth, controlled, dangerous. "Step into the light. Show yourself." And a figure stepped forward, a silhouette against the dim stormlight filtering in. Tall, sharp features, hands gloved, coat damp from the rain. Grant recognized him instantly from the police descriptions. Thomas Harlan, a known manipulator in Maplewood's shadowy affairs, rumored to have ties to decades-old scandals. Peter flinched slightly. He's the one behind everything," he whispered. Grant kept his focus. "You're going to explain yourself, Harlan, now." Harlan's eyes glimmered with amusement. "So eager, Detective. Always rushing toward the truth without seeing the traps beneath your feet. The Pennington case. It's bigger than just a missing man or a ransacked study. It's about leverage, secrets, and survival. You have no idea what you've stumbled into." Grant's jaw tightened. "Try me." Harlan smirked, stepping closer. "Your friend Peter here found the ledger, yes? The documents that could destroy families, ruin reputations. But you're naive if you think the truth is so simple. People protect themselves, by any means necessary." Grant's mind raced. The storm outside mirrored the tension in the room. Every drop of rain against the tower's stone seemed like a ticking clock, counting down the time before the next move, and Peter clutched the bundle of documents tightly. "Detective, he's lying, manipulating everyone. If we leave here, he'll know we have these. He'll hurt my father." Grant placed a reassuring hand on Peter's shoulder. "We're not leaving without him. Not until we know your father is safe and the truth is in the open." Harlan's smirk faded, replaced by a cold, calculating stare. "You should know, Detective. Some truths are buried for a reason. Once uncovered, they can't be hidden again. And sometimes, The light reveals more than one is ready to face. NNTHE tower creaked, a gust of wind rattling the beams overhead. Grant's flashlight flickered, as if responding to Harlan's words, casting long, shifting shadows that made the room seem alive. And Grant stepped closer, revolver steady. Then we face it. Together. You're not taking the father, not tonight, and not hidden in your games. Harlan chuckled lowly. Brave words, but are you willing to risk everything for them? For truth. Sometimes the storm washes away more than dirt. It can sweep innocence along with it. NNTHE rain pounded harder, lightning flashing across the town below, illuminating Harlan's sly grin. Peter gasped, and in that brief flash of light, Grant saw a figure slipping in through the side window, silent, unseen. Someone coming to claim the documents before the dawn. A figure slips into the clock tower, unseen until the last second. Detective Grant and Peter are forced into a rain-soaked chase through the streets of Maplewood. A race against time and shadows. Lightning split the sky, illuminating the tower and the fleeing figure. Grant barked, "After them!" Peter stumbled to keep pace as the man, tall, swift, and cloaked in a soaked coat, disappeared down a narrow alley. NNTHE rain made the cobblestones slick, each step a challenge. The glow of streetlights reflected in puddles, turning ordinary corners into mazes of shadow and light. Grant's flashlight cut through the darkness, scanning for movement. Detective, which way?" Peter shouted. Breathless, Grant didn't answer, focusing on the faint sound of footsteps ahead splashing through water, echoing against the brick walls. The figure was fast, but the chase was on familiar streets, and Grant knew Maplewood well. They turned a corner and saw the figure slip through an archway leading to the old canal district. Boats, abandoned crates, and tangled ropes created obstacles. The fugitive moved with purpose, clearly knowing the town's secrets better than they did. Grant's revolver remained at his side. He needed to keep his hands free for climbing and balance, but ready if confrontation became unavoidable. Peter clutched the bundle of documents tightly, protecting them as if they were fragile treasures. "Don't let them get the papers." Grant shouted. NNTHE figure leaped onto a low dock, but Grant anticipated it, grabbing a rope and swinging over a puddle, landing lightly on the other side. Peter followed, wobbling slightly but regaining balance quickly, and a sudden flash of lightning revealed the fugitive's face, partially masked, eyes cold and calculating. "So persistent," the figure sneered. "Maplewood will always protect its secrets, even from those who claim justice." Grant's heart pounded. The rain blurred his vision, but his mind raced. He needed to cut off escape routes, predict moves, and protect Peter. NNTHE chase led them toward the canal lock, where old machinery groaned and water lapped against the stone. The fugitive stumbled slightly, a misstep on the slick metal, and Grant saw his chance. "Now, Peter." Grant shouted. Peter hurled the bundle toward the fugitive, startling him. The man caught the papers but lost his footing, sliding dangerously toward the water's edge. Grant lunged, grabbing the fugitive's coat just in time, preventing a fall into the icy canal below. They struggled briefly, rain pelting down, until Grant managed to hold the man steady. "It's over," he said firmly. "Hand over the documents. No one gets hurt further." NNTHE fugitive's shoulders sagged, realization washing over him. "You don't understand," he muttered. "These papers, they ruin lives. People aren't ready for the truth." Grant shook his head. "The truth is never easy, but it belongs to those it affects. Maplewood deserves that much." Peter stepped forward, taking the papers from the fugitive. Relief washed over him, despite the rain and exhaustion. "Thank you, Detective. I thought it was too late." Grant glanced back at the darkened streets of Maplewood. The fugitive struggled to rise, eyes burning with a mix of anger and fear. Somewhere in the shadows, more secrets waited, and Grant realized. The chase may have ended for now, but the real story, and the mystery of the missing Mr. Pennington, was only beginning. Detective Grant and Peter returned to the Pennington estate with the stolen documents, but the mystery deepens. The missing Mr. Pennington has left a trail of secrets, and a truth that no one anticipated. NNTHE rain had slowed to a drizzle as Grant and Peter approached the Pennington estate. The mansion loomed silently, its windows reflecting the faint glow of early morning light. The night's chaos seemed to have vanished, but Grant knew better. Maplewood's calm often masked the darkest secrets. Peter clutched the bundle of documents tightly, glancing nervously at the rain-soaked streets. "Detective, my father. I don't understand. Why would someone take him? And why the study? He never mentioned enemies." Grant studied the mansion carefully. "Peter, sometimes danger comes not from strangers, but from those closest. The study being ransacked, it wasn't random. Someone wanted information hidden there, information your father knew." They entered the house cautiously, the familiar scent of polished wood and old books mingling with the lingering dampness from the storm. Mrs. Pennington appeared, her face pale but resolute. "You found the documents?" she asked, voice trembling. Grant nodded. "Yes, ma'am. And we have some answers now. No more remain. Your husband's disappearance is connected to these papers, and someone in Maplewood wants them kept hidden at all costs." Pennington led them to the study. The room, though slightly disheveled, had been restored after the initial break-in. Grant spread the documents on the desk, examining each page carefully. Financial records, personal letters, and photographs detailed decades of hidden dealings, and Peter leaned over, recognizing familiar names. "Detective, these implicate people in town, influential people. My father must have discovered something important." Grant's gaze fell on one photograph in particular. Mr. Pennington with a man Peter didn't recognize, both smiling as though hiding a secret. A handwritten note on the back read, "If anything happens to me, the truth must be protected." "Your father left instructions," Grant said quietly. "He anticipated danger and tried to safeguard the information. That's why he disappeared, to protect these secrets until the right moment." Peter's eyes widened. He wasn't taken by force? He went into hiding?" Grant nodded. "It seems so. But the intruder last night wasn't just after the documents. They wanted him silenced. We were lucky to recover the papers first, and MRs. Pennington clutched Peter's arm. "So he's alive? My husband? He's safe?" "Not yet. But the documents give us clues. There's a pattern, locations mentioned, and correspondence that may lead us directly to him." NNTHE rain outside had stopped entirely. Sunlight now filtered through the windows, illuminating the study and the papers that held Maplewood's deepest secrets. Grant felt a shift. The chase had led them here, and now the final puzzle pieces were coming together. Just as Grant began outlining the next steps, a faint sound came from the mansion's upper hallway, the soft echo of footsteps not belonging to the Penningtons. The detective froze. Someone else was in the house, and they were coming closer. Footsteps in the Pennington mansion hint at another player in the mystery. Detective Grant discovers hidden correspondence that could reveal the missing Mr. Pennington's location. If they can stay one step ahead of danger. Grant motioned for Peter and Mrs. Pennington to stay back as he moved toward the faint sound upstairs. Every step on the polished floor echoed, a reminder that the mansion, though familiar, was full of secrets waiting to be uncovered. Reaching the hallway, he noticed a small crack in the wall near the staircase. Pulling out a slender letter opener, he pried it gently. Behind it lay a hidden compartment, old, dusty, and perfectly concealed. Inside were letters, bundled with a ribbon, yellowed with age. Then Grant's fingers shook slightly as he untied the ribbon. Each letter bore careful handwriting, some in elegant script, others more hurried and anxious. He recognized the names immediately. Mr. Pennington, correspondence with an unknown confidant, and coded instructions. These could be the key," Grant murmured. "Peter, your father anticipated something. He left instructions, but they're hidden in plain sight." Peter leaned closer, reading over his shoulder. "I don't understand these letters. They talk about meetings, secret locations, and a person called the Keeper. Who is that?" Grant studied the letters carefully. "The Keeper seems to be someone your father trusted completely, a guide for these hidden truths. Whoever that is, they know where he's been and why he disappeared. And now we know where to start looking." A sudden creak made Grant spin toward the staircase. Shadows shifted, and a tall figure moved quickly down the hall. Instinctively, Grant raised his revolver. The figure froze in place. It was a young woman soaked from the storm outside, eyes wide with fear and recognition. "Detective Grant?" she said softly, voice quivering. "I didn't know who else to trust. I found letters too, from Mr. Pennington. I think he left something for me as well." Grant nodded slowly, motioning for her to calm down. "Who are you?" "I'm Emily Harper," she said, breathless. "I worked at the estate years ago. My father knew your father. Mr. Pennington and my father, they hid things. Important things. My father died, but he left me instructions to find my father's friend if anything happened." Grant's mind raced. The mystery was far larger than the missing man or the ransacked study. Hidden correspondences, secret allies, and decades of planning had all converged tonight. "Then we have a trail," Grant said, lowering his revolver. "Letters, instructions, and a network of people your father trusted. If we follow them carefully, we may find him before it's too late." Then Peter exhaled, relief mixed with tension. "Detective, but what about the intruder? The one who chased us last night?" Grant's gaze hardened. "He won't stop until he's silenced every witness. That's why these letters are so important. They guide us safely and reveal who's trustworthy and who isn't." As Grant gathered the letters, Emily whispered, glancing toward the doorway. Outside, a shadow passed across the window, someone watching, waiting, and determined to prevent them from uncovering the Pennington secret. Someone is observing the Pennington mansion from the shadows. Detective Grant realizes the danger is closer than ever, as rain-soaked Maplewood streets conceal a silent watcher, and a race to uncover Mr. Pennington's location begins. The rain returned in sheets, tapping the mansion windows with insistent rhythm. Grant peered through the study curtains, flashlight in one hand, revolver in the other. Across the front lawn he saw it. A dark figure, barely visible, crouched near the hedges. "Someone's out there," he muttered to Peter and Emily, who stood behind him. "They're watching, waiting. We can't make a move without them noticing." Emily's eyes widened. "Do you think it's the intruder from last night? Or someone else?" Grant shook his head slowly. "Could be either. Whoever it is knows about the letters, about your father's secret plans. And they'll do anything to stop us." NNHE motioned for them to stay low as he moved to the side door. The goal was simple: reach the back alley and follow the safest route to the locations hinted at in Mr. Pennington's correspondence. But the watcher was patient. Grant felt it in every movement, in the way the figure remained just out of reach, blending with the rain-soaked shadows. Stepping outside, Grant's coat was soaked immediately. Rain dripped from his hat, running down the sides of his face. He kept his flashlight low, careful not to draw attention. Peter and Emily followed, nerves taut, hearts racing with every step. They moved along the garden path, past the fountains and ivy-draped walls, careful to stay out of sight. The letters indicated the first stop, a small boathouse at the edge of Maplewood's canal district, a place Mr. Pennington had used to meet trusted allies. NNTHE watcher stayed close. Grant sensed movement, a figure slipping from tree to tree, silent as the night itself. Every shadow seemed alive. He had seen a few tricks in his years as a detective, but this was meticulous, patient, calculating. Reaching the canal, Grant signaled the others to stay behind the crates. They crouched, watching the boathouse. A small lantern flickered inside. Could this be Mr. Pennington, or was it another trap? Suddenly, a splash echoed across the water. The watcher had been noticed. Grant's revolver was ready, but he hesitated. A second figure emerged from the shadows. Closer this time, wet from the rain, moving quickly toward the boathouse. Emily gasped. "Detective, what do we do?" Grant's eyes narrowed. "We follow, quietly. No sudden moves. Whoever is inside holds the next clue. And if we act carefully, we may finally find your father." As they moved toward the boathouse, rain washing over them in relentless sheets, Grant felt a mixture of anticipation and dread. The letters had led them here, and the watcher had only grown more alert. Every step, every shadow, every drop of rain could mean the difference between discovery and danger. And as they reached the doorway of the boathouse, the lantern inside flickered, revealing a figure standing at the window, A familiar silhouette. Grant froze. Could it really be Mr. Pennington? Or had someone else beaten them to the secret? At the boathouse by the canal, Detective Grant uncovers secrets that could explain Mr. Pennington's disappearance. But someone is still watching, and the rain-soaked night holds more danger than expected. Grant motioned for Peter and Emily to stay back as he approached the boathouse door. Rain sluiced down the roof in torrents, sending rivulets along the wooden boards. The faint glow of a lantern from inside flickered, throwing shadows across the canal water. NNHE paused, listening. Inside, he could hear the faint shuffle of papers and a low voice muttering. The letters had led them here, and Grant's instincts told him this was a crucial moment. NNHE pushed the door open quietly. Inside, the boathouse smelled of damp wood and old oil. A single lantern illuminated a figure hunched over a table. Papers and photographs were spread across it. More evidence, more secrets, and Mr. Pennington himself. Peter's eyes widened. "Father," he whispered, taking cautious steps forward. NNMR. Pennington turned slowly, a tired but relieved smile crossing his face. "Peter, you came," he said, voice hoarse. "I knew someone would follow the trail." Grant stepped closer, lowering his revolver. "Sir, we recovered the documents. You're safe, but your disappearance has raised questions, and there's still someone watching." Pennington nodded grimly. "Yes. I went into hiding to protect the ledger and these correspondences. Someone wanted them destroyed, and I couldn't risk lives by staying in the open." Emily moved forward, handing him one of the letters she had found. "These guided us here," she said softly. "Your father anticipated every step." Pennington's hands trembled as he read the note. "I had no choice. The town's history is intertwined with secrets, alliances, and betrayals. If the wrong people had access, it could have destroyed generations. The ledger and letters were a safeguard, a map to truth." Grant scanned the room. The papers confirmed everything: hidden business dealings, confidential letters, even photographs connecting Maplewood's influential citizens to long-forgotten scandals. This was more than a missing person case. It was a revelation of an entire network of secrecy. Suddenly, a noise outside the boathouse caught their attention. Rain dripped from the eaves as a shadow moved along the canal bank. Grant raised his revolver again, peering through the window. "NN Detective." "Someone's there," Peter whispered, voice shaking. Grant nodded. "Stay calm. Whoever it is, they want the papers. They won't hesitate." From the shadows emerged a familiar figure: Thomas Harlan. His eyes gleamed with cold determination, rain dripping from his coat. "I see you found him," he said, voice smooth. "But the ledger, the letters, they don't belong to you." Grant stepped forward. "Enough, Harlan. Your games are over. Maplewood will no longer be manipulated by your threats." And Harlan's lips curved into a cruel smile. "We'll see about that. Sometimes truth is heavier than loyalty, Detective. Are you ready to bear it?" Before Grant could respond, Harlan lunged for the papers. A scuffle erupted, rain pounding around them, lantern light flickering across their determined faces. In the chaos, one critical document slipped from the table, disappearing into the canal's dark water. The scuffle at the canal leaves the critical ledger at risk of being lost forever. Detective Grant faces a race against time to recover the evidence and uncover the final piece of the Pennington mystery. Rain hammered relentlessly against the boathouse roof, the lantern swaying with each gust of wind. Grant and Harlan struggled near the table, papers flying into the air like birds startled by a sudden noise. Peter shouted, "The ledger! It's falling!" Grant turned just in time to see the critical ledger slide across the wet wooden floor and topple out the open doorway, landing with a splash in the dark canal water below. The current carried it away instantly, ripples racing toward the distant bridge. "No!" Grant barked, rushing to the edge. Harlan froze, momentarily stunned, then lunged for the floating ledger. Grant dove in after him, water sloshing around his boots, cold and biting. Emily's gasp echoed across the bank as the detective and Harlan grappled near the swirling canal. The ledger bobbed dangerously, half submerged, its pages threatening to be lost forever. And Grant used his weight carefully, wrestling Harlan back from the edge, and finally seized the soaked ledger. Water streamed down its cover, but the binding held. The detective shoved Harlan backward, forcing him to step into the canal briefly before scrambling to safety on the bank. "You're finished, Harlan," Grant said firmly, holding the soaked but intact ledger above his head. Harlan's glare was fierce, but he retreated into the shadows along the canal, disappearing as quickly as he had appeared. The rain and darkness swallowed him whole. Peter waded in cautiously to retrieve the remaining scattered papers from the water, shaking them free of excess rain. Emily helped, and soon the critical documents were all accounted for. Grant looked at the ledger in his hands, water dripping from the pages. "It's fragile, but it survived. Now we know everything." Pennington, standing nearby, took a deep breath. "You've done it, detective. The ledger, the letters, the documents, they've all been recovered. Maplewood's secrets are finally safe, and the past can be reconciled without fear." Grant nodded, his eyes scanning the canal's dark water. "Not everyone will be happy with the truth, sir, but with this, you can face it honestly, without hiding." Peter smiled faintly, though exhaustion weighed on him. "Thank you, detective." "I didn't believe we'd find him, or recover everything," Emily added. "And the letters, they showed us where to go, who to trust. Without them, we'd still be searching blindly." Grant carefully closed the ledger and held it over his chest. "Trust, guidance, vigilance. That's what solved this. The intruders, the shadows, they underestimated the determination to uncover the truth." Rain slowed to a gentle drizzle, and the first hints of sunlight broke across the canal. Grant glanced at the horizon. Maplewood streets were waking, unaware of the night's revelations. The city held its breath, but the mystery that had haunted the Penningtons for decades had reached its turning point. Yet as the sun reflected off the water, a faint shadow lingered on the far bridge. Someone watching, silently, waiting for the next move. Grant knew the ledger had survived, but in Maplewood, vigilance was never truly over. With the ledger recovered and the storm past, Detective Grant finally uncovers the full truth behind Mr. Pennington's disappearance. And Maplewood's long-hidden secrets are laid bare. None sunlight glimmered across the canal, the rain now a gentle drizzle. Grant, Peter, and Emily returned to the Pennington estate, the soaked ledger and letters carefully protected. The mansion stood in calm contrast to the chaos of the previous night, but Grant knew the storm had left its mark on Maplewood's history. NNMR. Pennington greeted them at the door, a mixture of relief and pride in his eyes. "Detective Grant, you've returned safely with the documents. I feared the worst." Grant shook his head. "You were cautious for a reason, sir. Your disappearance was a precaution, but it nearly cost the ledger. It's intact now, and with it, the truth of what's been happening in Maplewood for decades." Peter stepped forward. "Father, why did you hide? Why all the secrecy?" Pennington sighed, gesturing for them to enter the study. "Maplewood is a town of quiet streets, yes, but beneath the calm, there have always been alliances, disputes, and decisions made in secret. I uncovered things that could have harmed many if exposed at the wrong time. Harlan, he sought to exploit that." Grant nodded. "He underestimated the loyalty and vigilance protecting the truth. You anticipated danger, and that's why you went into hiding. But now we can resolve this openly." Pennington took the ledger from Grant, opening it to the carefully preserved pages. "These documents, they record decades of hidden dealings, of promises kept and broken. With them, Maplewood can reconcile the past without fear. We can act honestly now." Emily stepped closer, watching Mr. Pennington. "And the letters you left, they guided us safely. Without them, the intruders could have succeeded." "Yes," Pennington admitted. "They were a map, a safeguard, and a test. Only those with integrity and determination would follow the path correctly." Grant looked around the room, at the group of people who had survived the storm together. "The ledger, the letters, and our vigilance ensured the truth prevailed. Harlan and anyone like him may linger, but they cannot erase what's been uncovered." Peter smiled faintly, a weight lifting from his shoulders. "So, the mystery is finally over?" Grant shook his head gently. "The mystery was never just about a missing man or stolen documents. It was about protecting what is right, exposing what is hidden, and ensuring that the past doesn't repeat itself. That part never really ends. But now the people of Maplewood can move forward, guided by truth rather than fear." Pennington closed the ledger, its leather cover dry now from careful attention. "You've done more than recover documents, detective. You've restored trust and shown that vigilance and courage matter more than secrecy and power. Now outside, Maplewood basked in the morning light. The streets were calm, the town unaware of the night's dangerous events. Grant knew that while some shadows would always linger, the truth, once unveiled, could never be hidden again. And Grant turned to the group, lantern still in hand from the previous night's chaos. Maplewood is safer now because of what we've done. The ledger and letters remain, guiding the future. And with vigilance, the town can face whatever comes next, openly, honestly, and together. NNMR. Pennington nodded. And we will. Thank you, Detective Grant, for showing us that truth is worth every risk. As the sun climbed higher, Maplewood seemed to exhale, the quiet streets filled with light and possibility. The storm had passed. The ledger was safe. And for the first time in decades, the town could truly see its past and its future. NNTHE end.